What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Acre Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and this evening I am joined by my co-host Matt Llewellyn and my guy Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. I see in the chat, click, click, boom. So I'm going to say in honor of my guy Mike. If you're tuning in over on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive and join from there. Hit like, hit subscribe while you're here. We're not ignoring any comments on Twitter. We just can't see them. That's how their streaming platform is set up. Head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive so you can actually join the conversation. We will read your comments and questions out loud, get to be a part of the show, and you get to not be ignored. So, like I said, the link is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Come join. With that all said, Matt, how you doing this evening?
I'm doing good, Zach. It's been a pretty interesting week so far, what with work and whatnot, but that's not the only place that's been interesting. There's been some rumblings, a little tidbit here, a little tidbit there about what's going on in the NFL. I guess the latest rumor I heard, I don't know if you boys have heard this, is that apparently Tom Brady has been flirting around with Kim Kardashian, which that's an L right there. I don't know about that, but so yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to football. Got a wedding coming up in Portland this weekend. There's a lot on my plate, but I'm excited to be here right now and talking 49ers football. So let's jump into it, boys.
Exactly, man. It's so close. You can almost taste it. Mike, how you doing this evening?
That is a Kim Kardashian move for sure. Oh my God, that's nasty. But I'm doing well, man. I'm out here on vacation. If you guys listen closely, you can hear the frogs and the crickets in the background. I'm down in beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina right now. It's hot and humid. I am outside. I got a nice cold brew here. I got a cigar going, and I'm ready to talk any and everything football and 49ers related. So I'm just ready to have a good time, man. Happy to be on with the boys.
Hell yeah. I love it. Thanks for joining us, Mike. Even on his vacation, he's still working. We got a great show planned for you guys this evening. Like I said, football is almost back. We are right around the corner. I have those desk calendars at my desk at work. I flipped the one from June to July, and football is actually in sight. It's in the next 4 weeks. I think August 13th is the first 49ers preseason game. So it's literally, I think 5 weeks from today we're talking about. So
camp opens what, July 25th?
Yep. So
July 25th, the boys get back out there. Dead of summer, dog days of summer. We'll see what they got.
So close to being over. Real quick before we get into the actual minutia of going into the season, how would you guys rate the 49ers offseason, especially looking back on where they entered in January? Would you say they surpassed your expectations, met your expectations, fell short of your expectations of what you wanted them to do to become a better football team? Matt, if you want to go first.
I'm a little undecided. I'm a little mixed. They seem to largely stand pat in the draft when I thought with that many picks, they could potentially move up to get a guy. And then when they did pick, they pick a kicker in the third round, which is a bold move. We'll see how it pays off for them. They did go out and get, a tent pole all-pro type of defensive tackle to add to their defensive line. But really, it's a nothing burger for me this offseason because we're still talking about the same thing, and that's who's going to start for the 49ers. We still don't know. And until that question is answered, I can't give you a firm they overperformed or underperformed expectations because, honestly, we still have no idea what to expect. Any one of the three quarterbacks that are in-house could potentially start. You hear some people say, oh, Darnold's going to start over Lance. Then you hear other people say, oh, Purdy will definitely be back by then. But if he's not, then it's going to be Lance. And you have Sam Darnold coming out himself saying that he still needs to learn the 49ers playbook, which is notoriously difficult. It's going to be his fifth playbook that he's learned in his career. You just wonder if he has anything left in the tank. Again, if you told me any one of the three quarterbacks was going to start opening day, would I be shocked? No. And I think that's a problem. A lot of people will be like, well, they have these three guys. That's a good problem to have. I'd rather be a team that knows which quarterback is going to be starting for me on opening day for the next 10 seasons. That's where I want to be. So the 49ers got to figure it out fast. But until then, I really can't give them a grade.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, that really was, like you said, their biggest problem entering the offseason. Who's going to be starting the next offseason? And the three of us, we were doing shows back in late December, early January. We were saying anything short of Brock Purdy winning the Super Bowl in stunning fashion, it should basically automatically, I don't want to say automatically, but it should go back to Trey Lance once he is healthy to start the next season. Mike, I know you were pretty firm in that camp. Are you still of that belief that Brock Purdy did not do enough last season to earn it?
For me, it's less about him doing enough and Lance not doing anything. So I feel like Lance's opportunity was a little shorted. They did move up and select this kid with a very specific reason in mind, and I don't think that any of us have gotten to see it, including the Niners staff themselves. So until we get a chance to see it work or not work, I think he's the guy until they show or prove otherwise. And as far as grading the offseason, I'm going to give him a solid C plus. It hasn't been a bad offseason, but when you step back and look at it, I know we went out and got Javon Hargrave. But the truth of the matter is he is an Eric Armstead clone. We're going to look at this 11 sack season, but I promise you guys, if you go back and you look at his past stats, he is Eric Armstead all over again. He's Eric Armstead all over again. A 4-sack season here, a 6-sack season there, a 3-sack season here. He is just another solid defensive tackle. And that bodes well for guys on the roster like Drake Jackson. They didn't go out and technically seek his replacement or anything like that. But the 49ers have, of all the position groups, the most money spent and allocated to that defensive line with guys like Hargrave and guys like Eric Armstead. And they haven't even paid Nick Bosa yet. That is going to be one of the top paid position groups on the team. And I was disappointed in the production from the defensive line last offseason. Hargrave should help it out, should bring a little bit more consistency. But knock on wood, God forbid, whatever it is you want to say, what if Kinlaw is ready and comes out and plays like a monster, right? Now, all of a sudden, the guy that you gave all this money to in free agency is a rotational player. The team is going to look like nuts. They're going to look crazy. And so I don't think that they really answered any questions. We knew that Mike McGlinchey was going to be departing in the offseason. They didn't go out and do anything to make me feel any confidence at the right tackle position. I do believe that the answer is in-house, not named McKivitz, but I don't know who that answer is. So I don't have any answers yet. So it remains to be seen for me. It remains to be seen. And because of that, I can't say they had a bad offseason, right? I won't do anything like that. I won't say that they were a D or an F. I can't say that they failed the offseason. But they did go out and get a good nickel corner. They did go out and get a really solid defensive tackle, someone that can play probably all 3 downs if they need him to. But we have not shored up any of the weak spots on the defense. And so because of that, I can't go out there and just say, oh, this is an A. This is a B+. I can't do it. It's a solid C+. A really, really good C+, very close to a B. And then the rest of it will be determined based off of productivity.
Damn. So maybe this is the fan in me coming out, but I thought this was a really, really good, okay, maybe not really, really good offseason, but I thought this was a good offseason. Looking into where they were in January, what holes did they have that they absolutely needed to fill come August, right? Kicker, since they let Robbie Gold go. Quarterback, you could argue backup quarterback, third string quarterback, whatever it is, since they literally finished the season without a healthy one. Interior defensive line, since Javon Kinlaw decided to clock out probably late December. And maybe some secondary positions. You could argue they filled all of those positions, especially at the starter level. You go and draft Jake Moody. You sign Sam Darnold. You signed Javon Hargrave. Mike, you mentioned that. In my opinion, these were really, really, yes, not as far as quantity. They didn't make a lot of moves, but the quality of the moves, in my opinion, were pretty impressive to me. And look, obviously Jake Moody hasn't played an NFL snap yet. Who knows how the hell he could turn into another, is it Aguayo, who the Bucks took a couple years back and he totally flamed out? That could be the case. That really could be the case. But I just think that I appreciate them actually going after the fact. It reminds me of when the 49ers desperately needed a number 1 receiver, and then they finally went out and got Torrey Smith. It didn't really pan out, but I appreciate the effort, right? It's at least them acknowledging what they needed to do, and they went and did it. And our guy Dion of the Niner Game podcast mentioned Steve Wilkes as well. We were all terrified of losing D'Amico Ryans. We were thrilled he came back for another year after his first year as DC, but Steve Wilkes has to be the best, I don't want to say replacement, but 1A, 1B type option to D'Amico Ryans. Mike, you're shaking your head no. Why not?
Absolutely not. I get it. I like Wilks. I like his pedigree and what he stands for and all. A lot of people don't recall, Steve Wilks has little to no defensive coordinator experience in the NFL. We look at what he did with the Arizona Cardinals. We look at what he did with the Panthers. He was not a defensive coordinator. He was a secondary coach, guys. And then he got the interim head coach position. He was not a defensive coordinator. And we just credit him with that for some strange reason. Don't take my word for it. Do your Googles, pull up his account, pull up his information, and you guys will see. I think the last time he was a defensive coordinator was something like 2008 for like a year in Arizona or something crazy like that. It was a long time ago. This is why D'Amico Ryans leaving, right? I get it. He didn't have any experience as a defensive coordinator, right? Robert Saleh leaving, I get it. He didn't have any experience in defensive coordinator, right? I think you're kind of lucking up. I think the talent is kind of carrying you, right? I get that. I understand it. But are you going to try that 3 times in a row? I'm an odds guy. I watch the odds, and the odds of you selecting first-time defensive coordinators 3 times in a row and it all working out, the odds are against us, especially when the 49ers have had a top 5 defense for the last 5 years. It's not likely to happen again, and I think that we could have been dropping the ball here. I think there were some veterans out there that they could go out and get. You had guys like Vic Fangio as consultants and things like that. Why not lock him in? Why not secure him as the guy, right? They chose to kind of pump the brakes and go after a cheaper option. And Wilkes, and I'm not saying that he's not going to be good. Let me be very clear what I'm saying, but make me feel more comfortable. Make the fans feel a little bit more comfortable. Get me somebody with some real defensive coordinator experience. This guy has none of it. He is a secondary coach through and through.
He was defensive coordinator for the Browns in 2019, defensive coordinator for Mizzou in 2021, defensive passing game coordinator in 2022. So he's got some experience.
No, Mizzou, no, come on. I'm talking NFL experience. Don't do that.
He was a Cleveland Browns defensive coordinator, bro. In 2019.
No, he was never the Panther defensive coordinator. Never. He was never
the defensive passing game coordinator. I mean, that's,
right. He was not the defensive coordinator. There's a difference. There is a difference.
He was also the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator for the Panthers in 2015, 2016, and 2017.
I'm telling you guys, this is what page are you guys looking at?
This is Wikipedia right here.
And this is saying that he was the Panthers defensive coordinator. Wikipedia does not have him listed as the Panthers DC.
It literally does.
Head coach and defensive coordinator.
I promise you that is inaccurate. I know this for a fact that he was not the official defensive coordinator for the Panthers. I know this for a fact.
It says after Sean McDermott left to become head coach of the Buffalo Bills, Wilkes was promoted to McDermott's former position.
He was assistant head coach and defensive backs. He was the DBs coordinator. I'm telling you, I know this for a fact. We got to find it. It's somewhere else online. He was not the Panthers defensive coordinator. And I'm not saying he can't do it. I'm just saying that they really could have made us feel more confident in the position change, and they just dropped the ball there. They really didn't go out to
be fair, to push back a little bit.
He's listed on Pro Football Reference as the 2017 Carolina Panthers defensive coordinator.
That's the one I was thinking about. 2017 for them. I didn't know about
2019 for Cleveland.
Yeah, I didn't know about the Cleveland one. That's the one that I didn't know about. I knew about the 2017 for them. They lost someone, and then he went in and filled in for them, but it was like a half a year or something like that, and then that was it. I didn't know about the Cleveland one. So, I mean, he's got, I guess, some experience in it, but all right, fine. Like I'll back off for that one.
Let me defend this a little bit, Mike. You're saying you'd rather have the team made the fans feel a little more comfortable. Maybe went with a familiar name like Vic Fangio. What if they felt like that wasn't the right choice? Do you think they should still go with what they believe is the wrong choice just to make the fans feel a little better at night?
No, I don't think Vic Fangio was the right guy either, because he's a 3-4 guy, not a 4-3.
Put anyone in there. Put anyone in there. I was just an example.
But if you're asking us to grade before we see anything, then we have to go based off of faith.
Okay.
And I don't have the faith in him as a defensive coordinator. He's not established. He's not a proven defensive coordinator on any level. Let me ask you guys this question. What did the Panthers defense do in 2017? What did the Browns defense do in 2019? You can't answer that question. How many times have we watched the Cleveland Browns, all their immense talent on both sides of the ball, say, man, they really fell short year after year, right? And now, again, I don't know. They could have ranked in the top 10. I don't know. I'm telling you guys that I don't know. I don't have the answer to it, but he didn't do anything to make me say, oh, yeah, he's the guy. That's the guy I want replacing D'Amico Ryans, who had this defense fired up. That's the guy I want coming in after Robert Saleh and D'Amico. No, I didn't see it. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. They didn't do anything to make me feel comfortable. It didn't have to be him, but there were some other guys out there that run a 4-3 that we could have got with some experience, and you give them this crop of talent, and I think they could have taken whatever their normal bar was to the next level because of the talent that we have on this defense. Now, he's got an opportunity to do that, and he's got an opportunity to make a name for himself. But the shoes that we're asking him to fill right now are massive, right? You're not coming in here and trying to fill a size 9.5. That's not what we're asking you to do, bro. The people that left here were wearing size 13, 14, and 15. Like, this is a top 5 defense. You can't come in here and just have a middle-of-the-pack defense and say, oh, well, it was a successful year. No, it wasn't. There's a standard on the defensive side of the ball here. I know this is a Kyle Shanahan offensive-led team, right? But this is a defensive-minded team. This team runs and bleeds with the defense. And if he comes out here and drops the ball, look at this frog. Sorry, there's a frog in here with me somehow. Oh, get off of me. Sorry. This motherfucker jumped right on me. It's a cricket. It's not a frog.
You guys got to clip that.
Sorry. Oh, shit. It jumped right on me.
It's like Croc slapping that fly.
He jumped right on my leg. I'm not going to kill him, though. I heard his dad.
Did you just mistake a cricket for a frog?
The way he leaped, I thought it was a frog. All right, Jiminy, I'm going to let you live, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, guys. But yeah, okay. I'm just saying that they didn't do anything to instill any confidence in me. And that was a really, really big position. That was a really, really big need. You know, I told you guys last offseason how I didn't like the Schneider hire for special teams coordinator, right? And it wasn't because of Schneider himself, although his track record was just meh, right? But it was listening to the 49ers at the State of the Franchise the last offseason say, we knew it was a position to fill, so we just made a phone call and said, hey, we have an opening. Would you like it? They didn't interview a plethora of guys for the special teams coordinator. He was just a guy that they knew because they played against him in Seattle and said, hey, are you interested in the position? And he said, yeah, that's fine. I'll take it. I didn't like that. I felt like you should do a little bit more diligence. You should run a gamut of interviews. There's a standard, right? I feel like there's a standard. If they told me that here's the truth. If they told me they interviewed 5 special teams coordinators and they settled on Schneider, I would have felt better with the Schneider pick. That's the truth. I don't know the amount of work that went into hiring Wilks for this position. And based off of what they did with Schneider, and I think our special teams could have been a little bit better, but based off of what they did with Schneider, I don't have any faith in Kyle and John Lynch selecting coordinators outside of the offensive side of the ball. I have no confidence in them. It's been working out so far, but everything so far has been a promotion from within. Everything was a promotion from within. This is a hire from the outside, and so is the Schneider. And so far, to me, they're 0-2. I haven't seen what Wilks is going to do yet. I reserve judgment. I reserve the right to change my mind later on. I think the Schneider thing was a subpar hire. Personally, I think that was subpar. So I'm not going to give them a win for that. But here we go with Wilks again, and I don't like the way they vet these guys out. I don't like the way they vet them out.
Okay, real quick, because I know Matt probably wants to jump in. Only one was an internal promotion from within. They went out and hired Robert Saleh. He was with the Seahawks when Kyle first got here. I know you're talking about Schneider, and you're probably I think that was the 0-2 that you're referring to, Schneider and now Wilks. But they went and got Saleh, and they went and obviously promoted Ryans from linebackers coach to DC. Both of them were first-time DCs. So if anything, I would argue their track record has proven that you have to assume they know what they're doing and know what they're looking for specifically in this position, since they literally just turned 2 back-to-back DCs into head coaches. Like, that's their pedigree, is come in here. We have the talent. As long as you have on par coaching, you'll likely leapfrog from this position back to be a head coach. That's my take on it. Matt, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I mean, there was some turnover in the 49ers coaching staff, but I mean, you're asking Wilkes to coordinate a team with, a lot of coaches that have been there and just kind of bring them together, kind of be an overseer, kind of be a supervisor. You're not asking him to, rewrite the Holy Bible or whatever the case may be. So for him to come in, you'd have to do a pretty bad job to screw that up, considering the talent, considering the coaching staff that's already in place. I just think, I don't know, I guess it's okay to not have more confidence in the team, but you also shouldn't have any less. It's not like this is a bad hire. You can't look at it objectively and be like, that was a bullshit hire. They shouldn't have done it. Like, Wilkes is trash, whatever. This is like a wait and see. I get where Mike's coming from in that regard, but on the defensive side of the ball in the Kyle Shanahan era, this team has actually been really, really good. So on that side, I'm not as worried about it. Offensively is where, and ironically enough, that's where Kyle is supposed to be the genius. Offensively is where I worried about this team. Defensively, they've been a top defense for the entire time he's pretty much been here, other than maybe the first year that he was here, because they had absolutely no talent whatsoever. But Wilkes, I feel like, even if he was a defensive back coach or whatever, he's been a head coach, I believe, twice now. If you count the interim job with Carolina, he was the head coach of the Arizona Cardinals for a while. And while that doesn't necessarily translate one-to-one to being a defensive coordinator, we've seen a bunch of times that, as people get around the league, there's a reason why certain guys stick around, right? We talk about Vic Fangio. Vic Fangio was a trash head coach, like one of the worst. He was god-awful. But is he going to get another, defensive coordinator job? Of course he is. Wade Phillips, terrible head coach, going to get coordinator jobs. Kubiak, when he was a head coach, not the best, but he's going to get coordinator jobs. Bill O'Brien is going to get more offensive coordinator jobs in the future. Wasn't a good head coach. We've seen it. It's a tale as old as time. I think that the need for like some super hot shot defensive coordinator, I believe, is a little bit overblown. There are a lot of teams out there with good defenses where if I asked you right now who's their defensive coordinator, you wouldn't even be able to tell me. So you don't necessarily have to be a household name. You don't necessarily have to have the next hot coaching option or whatever. Let's just let Steve Wilkes do his job and see where the chips fall. And if it's bad, we'll call it out for being bad. And if it's good, we'll call it out for being good. I think, Mike, with you saying I reserve the right to change my mind, I mean, that's a little bit of a hedging your bets. And basically what that tells me is you don't know either. And you're just kind of waiting to see what happens. You're not blown away by the hire, but you're not mad at it either.
And that's why I gave them a C plus, right? It's right on the border of being a B. It's that, and that's exactly why it was the grade that I gave them. I'm not mad at the hire, but they could have done something to instill a little bit more confidence, right? Let's just say that it was Eric Mancini, right? And I go out and I watch film of Eric Mancini defenses and say, all right, look at what they did, but then look at the talent. What will those guys do in that system? Then I can kind of say, all right, this is what I think is going to happen, right? With Wilkes, there's just not enough tape out there for me to say anything definitively. And so it could be good, great, boom, bump it up to a B plus, right? Or it could be bad, boom, knock it down to a C. And that's exactly why I'm right there where I am. A C plus is a really, really good grade. A 79 is good, So, and this is coming from someone who just learned that a D is a passing grade. I didn't know that, guys. This is going to sound crazy. I don't know if I said it on this show or not, or if it was a different podcast that I was on. But in my household growing up, the grades were A, Bs, and a C. You were in a lot of trouble. A lot of trouble in my household. I just learned as an adult that a D was a passing grade. In fact, I dropped out of college because I got a D
might
in
be
micro.
high school.
Huh?
That might be in high school. In at least in where I'm from in California, C is the only passing grade. You can't get
Right. Well,
D's and get
that's what I was going to say. I dropped out of college because I got a D in microeconomics, and I thought that it was a failing grade, and so I thought that it ruined my scholarship and blah 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 blah. So I just didn't sign up the following year. I just learned that a D is a passing grade. I had no idea that that was the standard for some people, and it's just not acceptable as a Niner fans. We're better than that. We have a higher standard, especially on the defensive side of the ball here. You think back to when Mike Singletary was the head coach here, the defense was still the staple. The defense was still the side of the ball that we had a standard. Mike Nolan as a head coach, the defense was still the side of the ball that we were going to go out there and rock. We might have been 5-11. We might have won only 4 games in a certain season, but that defense was still really good. And you can tell that if the offense could sustain some drives and put up another score or two, another scoring drive or two, that we would have been okay. The defense has been the standard here, even back in the early 90s when we were winning Super Bowls in the late 80s. Those defenses were still just as good as the defenses, the offenses that we had on the field. And I feel like that's the standard here in San Francisco. A lot of people think San Francisco, they think offense. I think defense. My favorite 49ers player, you guys know, is Bryant Young. I'm a defensive side of the ball type of guy. And Wilkes just doesn't bring, to me, he doesn't bring that pedigree, but it doesn't mean that he can't. So I feel like it's safe. I feel like I'm okay to say I reserve the right to judge when it's at the end of his first season.
Okay. All right. I mean, I get it. I get it. And it is all speculation going into the season, so I'm not too mad about it. I don't want to talk about quarterbacks. I feel like we've talked about quarterbacks for the past 10 weeks straight in the chat set of quarterbacks. Obviously, outside of quarterback, what position through training camp are you guys keeping maybe the closest eye on, or maybe going to be the most eager to read the reports coming out of? Is there one position in particular that you're like, oh, okay, this is where the hottest battle is going to be outside of QB? Mike, you're shaking your head. Yes. I'll throw it back to you.
Right tackle. I won't waste time. You guys know exactly why. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's right tackle for me. Fuck the quarterback position. I want to know what the right tackle is bringing to the table. That's it. I like the guards. I even like the center. I like the left tackle. I want to know what that right tackle is bringing to the table. People shit on my guy, Mike McGlinchey. I'm telling you guys, he brought standard to that position, and I want to see them at least match that energy. I want to see what the right tackle is going to do.
Okay. Mike, looks like you had agreed with him. Was there another position, or right tackle was yours as well?
I mean, I think that right tackle is a good one. Definitely. I do think that just for the sake of being different, I'm going to say tight end 2. Oh. I think tight end 2 is going to be a very important position battle. They went out and they drafted Cameron Latu from Alabama. They went out and they drafted Braden Willis from Oklahoma. You still have Ross Dwelly in the house. You still have, I always space on his name. Why can't I remember him? Not Dwelly, but the other guy.
It's not McKivitz. What's his name? Oh, God, I'm blanking.
Yeah, see, we don't even know. He ain't that good, apparently, but he seems to hang around. Well, I'm going to have to look it up now just to put some respect on his name.
Gosh, how can I not think of this? Warner.
I know. Yeah, Charlie Warner. There we go.
Joey.
Yep, appreciate you, Joey. Joey's quick on that. But I think there's been a George Kittle and then a distinct drop in production. I mean, a distinct drop in production. And we've done everything from trying to sign guys that were over the hill and perhaps a little washed, to trying to convert wide receivers and cutting and re-signing them for the 58th time in Jordan Matthews. And there's just been a glut of negative production at that tight end 2 spot. And just when you think a guy is going to step up, they disappear again for the next 4-5 games and you don't see them. You'll get a Ross Dwelly 3rd and 20 completion like every now and again, but there's no consistency. And for this offense, one of the best things that I think they could do is be able to play action pass 2 tight ends out of an obvious running formation. They do a lot of their stuff out of 3 wide, and that's fine. But when they go to 2 tight end sets, it's pretty obvious that George Kittle is going to be the only passing option on that thing, and everybody else is kind of like, yeah. So Tight end 2. And then, go ahead, Mike.
I just wanted to ask, what if Kyle Juszczyk is the new tight end 2? They kind of went away from the fullback play a lot last year. What if that's his new role? Would you be confident in that if he was the guy?
I would be. Like, honestly, I've been looking for them to use him more anyway. I mean, we all see the highlights. I mean, how many times do we complain that Jimmy Garoppolo couldn't hit him on that fullback wheel route? And so to tell me somebody as athletic as Kyle Juszczyk couldn't be used in the, and I don't know why they haven't done it before, because the man can block too. So like, you don't need all-star, all-pro level production out of him, Pro Bowl level production at the tight end spot. But you also can't just have him be the highest paid fullback in the NFL to be out there for like 9 snaps. It doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like that would be ideal. The only problem with that is when you pick Cameron Latu at pick 101, and then you go and you pick another tight end, that tells me that that's not really entering their mind, even though that it should. And I mean, I'm sure Kyle Juszczyk is perfectly happy collecting his paycheck the way that he's collecting it. But if that was me, I'd go out there and be like, hey, man, can I try to play tight end? Like, let me show you that I can do more than just dribble Minkah Fitzpatrick like a basketball. You know what I mean? Like, let me go out there and actually, play. I get that he has one of the, I don't want to say easy, because it's not an easy job being an NFL player, but in terms of dollar per snap, Kyle Juszczyk's got it made, man. Like, I just think that if you got that fire and you really want to be a player, I think you would kind of volunteer for that. So I don't know if he has or hasn't. That's no reflection on the player. I'm just saying what my personal opinion would try to be. But based on the people that they're bringing in, I don't know that they're going to do that. But I would be comfortable with him at tight end 2.
That's a good one. I really like that. I'm trying to remember the name of the 49ers kicker that they traded for. And he's coming to your
Zane Gonzalez.
Thank you, Gonzalez. I knew it was a Mexican name. It might be a little bit of a cop-out, but I'm going to go with kicker. They spent the high draft pick on Jake Moody. Obviously, I know training camp, doesn't really translate into regular games as far as atmosphere and environment for a kicker. But I just want to see, because when we saw like rookie camp, I think I saw, the beat writers talking about how he wasn't looking that great. Zane Gonzalez wasn't really looking that great either. So what to take of it, I don't know. But I'm really eager to see, because they did give out, I think it was like a 7th or some crazy late conditional pick for Gonzalez. It's not like they traded the farm for him. But then they spent an earlier pick on Jake Moody, who's supposed to be a really, really good kicker. So if that's the case, that adds a whole nother weapon to the 49ers arsenal and gives them that little edge on special teams.
I'll tell you this right now. Zane Gonzalez is going to look awfully good in training camp. Awfully good. Holding Jake Moody's towel. So
wow.
They didn't spend a top 100 pick on a kicker to not play him. And I can forgive, a lot of people don't understand this, but when you got Jake Moody coming from college to the NFL, there is going to be a little bit of adjustment. You have to think about how wide the hashes are in college football. You can kick a field goal from that far hash, and you got to be able to angle that thing in there. In the NFL, obviously, the hashes are the width of the goalposts. That actually narrows things up. There's going to be an adjustment period to that. There's slight rule differences in kickoffs and everything like that. So there's going to be some adjustments, but he kicked touchbacks in college on more than half of his kickoff attempts. So, I mean, that's something we definitely didn't have from Robbie Gould. That's for sure. But I mean, listen, we all talk about draft capital speaking, to a player's opportunity on the team being their first selection in the draft. I mean, he would have to be catastrophically bad. I'm talking like worse than Roberto Aguayo bad to not make it on this team. And I just don't see that happening. He played big time college football for one of the best teams in the country, college football playoff team. He had a really, really good season last season. I think he hit like 90% or something of his field goals last year. Something ridiculous. I think he hit all of his extra points, like 56 of them in a row or something like that. So from that aspect of it, will there be a little bit of fall off from, Robbie Gould, who is just, never missed in the playoffs? Obviously, obviously he's going to miss one, I'm sure, but he's going to be better than Zane Gonzalez. Zane Gonzalez was available for that trash pick for a reason. So for me, I don't know. I don't see Zane Gonzalez being there.
The reason Zane Gonzalez was available was because he was injured.
I know it was an injury.
Don't sleep on that guy. Go back and look at his numbers before the injury. He was like a 90+% kicker. I think he was 91, 92% kicker. So like he's no pushover either. He's the exact type of guy you want to come in and push a rookie. You know, that's exactly what you want. And it's going to be a phenomenal matchup to watch during preseason ball. It's going to be a lot of fun to sit back and watch those two guys or read the stats. If you're going to pay attention to stats in the practices and all that kind of stuff, the kicker is one that you are going to want to pay attention to, because you're going to have a lot of guys trying to make their name on special teams, looking to block those kicks and things like that. Those guys' jobs are not going to get any easier from preseason and practice to regular season. So, there's rules with quarterbacks and protection and all that stuff. You can tell me a quarterback completed a pass, but it would have been ruled a sack if it was a real game and all that stuff. You don't have those same rules for kickers. Zane Gonzalez is going to push Moody a lot, and I think that's exactly what we want as 49er fans. We want to see two guys going toe-to-toe, no pun intended, and let the best man win. So I don't think it's going to be just some pushover. I don't know that he's going to be holding the towel for sure.
I mean, he hasn't played a full season since 2019. So, I mean, that's a long time to go without it. He had an injury in 2020 to finish out that season. And don't sleep on quad injuries for kickers. They take a long time. Zach, I feel like we got some super chats in there. Let's hit those up.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for your contributions to the show. Our guy, Deshaun Page. What's up, Natter Gang? Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford will be in the Pro Bowl this year. I love it. Speak it into existence. I love it. And our guy, Chris R. Hey, guys. Brock Purdy, number 1. Sam Darnold, number 2. Love Trey. Needs more time. Defense, solid.
I hate that. Thank you for the super chat. But that whole needs more time is bullshit, okay? When you take your steak off the grill, you let it rest, and then it keeps cooking, okay? But you gotta get it. You gotta jump on that. You say it needs more time. All of a sudden, you got a charred, burnt piece of meat. And okay, so let's just say that, and I didn't want to talk about quarterbacks, but it came up in a super chat, so why not? Let's just say Trey Lance doesn't play this year. What about next year? He still need more time? What about the year after that? He still need more time? The best way for him to get experience is to play. And the only reason why 49er fans don't want him to play is because they feel like one of the other two guys will get us to a Super Bowl quicker. That's the only reason. Not because they think that he doesn't have a higher ceiling than both Purdy or Sam Darnold, because he does. We just don't know what he's going to be. We don't know if he can achieve that ceiling. But if he maximized his potential, he would be the best quarterback on this roster, without a doubt. We just don't know if that maximization is going to come, and the fans aren't patient enough to see if he can do it. They're worried about the here and now and not playing the long game. That's why, you know what, I'm going to stop right now. I don't want to even. It's cool, man.
Yeah, I saw the report come out that last season, Kyle Shanahan was totally content with possibly losing if it meant developing Trey Lance. But this season, that's no longer the case. There's no more time to develop, and we need to win this.
That was that Adam Schefter report, right?
Yes.
Yeah, dude. Shefty's been doing bumps or something, dude. Like, he has no idea. This is the same dude that said they were going to draft Mac Jones. He was, it's Mac Jones. It's Mac Jones. And then had to throw that thing in reverse. Like, Schefter normally knows his stuff, but he's been slipping lately. And the fact of the matter is, like, this is pure conjecture. This is pure conjecture on his part. Because if you think that an NFL coach with the attitude of Kyle Shanahan is okay with losing at any point in his career, you just don't know the man, and you're just making shit up.
To be clear, it's not conjecture on his part. It's opinion. And that's what a lot of people are not used to from Adam, right? They're not used to that from him or Rappaport, right? They're used to, what have you heard from your sources, from your team insiders and blah, 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 right? And so right now, Adam's doing this thing, especially on the McAfee show, where it's, hey, what do you think? What is your opinion on X, Y, and Z? And then he goes out and says these things. And we have to learn to separate the rumors versus the intel and the sources. They are two very, very different things. And until we learn to separate those two, we're going to cling to what he's saying and take it out of context. I am completely fine with Schefter having opinions, with Rappaport having opinions, right? But ask them if it's from sources. He's the same guy that came out and said, hey, I said X, Y, and Z about Trey Lance. And then the Niners actually hit me up and said, hey, why are you saying that? What are you doing? We never said those things. And so we have to keep that kind of logic in mind when we're listening to what he's saying. Is it his opinion or is it something that he heard? They are two very different things. And I'll give him credit for this. He does a good job of distinguishing between the two when he gives those reports, when he gives those opinions. He does a very, very good job of saying sources say whatever, or this is what I think. It could be this, it could be that. He does a very good job of distinguishing between the two.
So my apologies. I think it is actually Albert Breer. I think Adam Schefter said the same exact thing, though.
That Darnold was ahead of Lance, I think is what he said.
Yeah, something very similar.
Similarly stupid and unfounded.
This is from Kevin Kruger of The Krug Show. And I believe this is from The Herd, but let's just hear.
So the ideal thing would be to just throw him out there and live with his mistakes. But that's what the Niners were going to do last year. And that sort of ship has sailed. They know how good they are. They know the window they're in. They know they've got one of the most talented rosters.
They didn't know this last year, apparently.
And so at this point, they don't really feel like they can throw a season overboard in the name of Trey Lance's development. And especially if you're talking about, well, we may only need him for 4 or 5 weeks till Brock Purdy gets back. Now you're talking about something different. You're not talking about developing the best quarterback for the playoffs. You're talking about the guy who can keep you best afloat for a month, right? That'd probably be Sam Darnold over Trey Lance at this point, right? Even if Lance has the higher ceiling. So I think a lot of different things are going into this. And it makes it much different than last year when the idea was we're going to sink or swim with him. We're going to ride out his bumps in September and October with the hope that we get a better quarterback than we had by the time we get to January. So
blow me, dude. He's full of shit. Nope, not a single report says Brock Purdy won't be ready until week 4 or 5. In fact, all the reports are saying the counter right now, he's going to be ready in preseason. He's going to be ready by week 1. Like, that just lets you know that it's just opinion. Like, this is we have to stop it. We have to stop it. It's not that. I promise you guys, that's not what it is.
It's complete BS. It really is just speculation. It's July. That's the time of the year where these, I don't want to say BS reporters, because Albert Breer is a legitimate reporter, but they come up with these, they do these hits on these talking shows and they need to have something. So they just start speculating because they don't want to go on coward with nothing. And yet Enice 023 says, how is Sam Darnold ahead of Trey Lance when he got his this year? At least Trey Lance has been here 2 years, but he got here this year, I assume he meant. And this all goes into, well, he's simply the fact that he's a veteran, automatically he leapfrogs Trey Lance. It's wild to me, the logic that people will go into this. But look, I said I didn't want to get into quarterbacks. I don't think either of you guys do as much either.
Yeah, we're gonna have to see
Matt.
what it is. But I would be shocked if Sam Darnold does anything other than just the backup's backup. He's going to be the emergency guy. I mean, this is Sam. I see Ghost Darnold. Everybody said he had this like really good end to the season, a season in which he threw sub 60% completion percentage. So miss me with that shit. We know what Sam Darnold is. He's got however many starts, like 40 or 50 starts to prove that. Like, nah, man, we don't even know what Trey Lance is. I would rather go with an unknown with a high ceiling than go with Sam Darnold, who we know is never going to reach his potential. He's already a disappointment as a third overall pick in a draft. So,
well said. All right, let's get into starting to wrap this show up because I got to cook some dinner tonight. Do you guys want to talk about more topics, or do you want to draw some cards?
Let's get into another topic, and then we'll draw some cards real quick.
Yeah, I'm with whatever you guys want to do. They held off on spades for me, so we're gonna get going soon after this. So I'm ready, man. You got another topic? Let's do it, man.
Let's do it. Okay. So the last one I had written down tonight was as the 49ers and this actually being their year, a lot of that obviously plays in with how they shape up in the NFC going into the postseason, whether or not they start off hot enough to avoid being one game behind, say Philly, like they were for most of the second half of last year. With that all said, outside of obviously the Eagles and the Cowboys, who's the biggest threat from inside the NFC that you guys are worried about the 49ers having to face, possibly when it comes to a wild card or divisional round, or even all the way up to the NFC Championship game? Who's the other team outside of the two that I just named that you guys think are the biggest threat to the Niners, if there is one? Because it's tough for me to think.
What were the two teams? I'm sorry, I missed that. I was talking to my dad.
Philly and Dallas.
The two teams that have posed the biggest threat to the Niners getting to the Super Bowl?
Outside of, yeah, in the NFC, outside of Philly and Dallas.
Oh wow, I got a wild one. So if you want to go first, Matt, I'm sure you won't name the teams that I'm going to name. So if you want to go first, I'll let you.
I can go if both of you guys need. Okay,
go ahead.
I agree with E9023, Seattle. And look, while I don't take them as a serious threat with Geno Smith under center, they just drafted Jackson Smith, and I think that adds a whole nother element to that offense. I think they're a legitimate team. They're a legitimate contender for the playoffs. K9 is nice in the backfield. I don't think Geno Smith will be able to take them over the hump, but outside of Philly and Dallas, in my opinion, they're the third biggest threat. I don't want to say who I wanted to say because I don't want to rob it from any of you guys, but I'm not going to name the team that I was going to say because they haven't proven anything.
I just want to ask you a question, Zach.
Mm-hmm.
How many times has the Geno Smith led Seattle Seahawks team beaten the 49ers?
0. And I didn't say they were going to, but as far as the biggest threat.
Well, then how are they, if they don't beat us, how are they a threat?
Because they can almost beat you. You don't have to beat somebody to be a threat to them.
Yeah, you do. What are they going to do? Lose their way into the Super Bowl? If they can't beat the 49ers, then who gives a shit?
We would smoke Seattle in the postseason.
The Cowboys can't beat the 49ers, but they're still a threat to them.
Nah, bro. Cowboys got to prove it.
Wait now, hold on. Brock Purdy was 3 throws away from looking pretty bad. I'm not going to say mediocre, looking pretty bad against the Cowboys in the postseason. So I understand what Zach is saying.
Who legitimately looked bad in the postseason was Dak Prescott, who threw some of the dumbest interceptions I've seen in a game. His two interceptions in that game were trash. I'm not saying that Dallas, it can't. Okay, how do you define threat?
He's talking about.
I don't think the Seahawks can beat the 49ers in the division in terms of finishing ahead of them in the standings or in the playoffs.
Name teams that are going to be good and can get momentum going into the postseason. That's what he wants to. That's what he wants to know.
I mean, listen, the NFC is going to be uncharacteristically weak this year. You've got 3 teams in the NFC East that are going to kind of feed and on each other right throughout the season with, the aforementioned Cowboys, the aforementioned Eagles, and then you got to throw in a pretty talented Giants team in there. They're going to cannibalize each other all season and beat each other up. The NFC West outside of the 49ers, yeah, you can say Seattle's like a borderline playoff team, wild card team. I don't believe in Geno Smith. I watched a workout video. Somebody sent me a workout video of him today. His feet look slower than mine. I'm just saying. That dude does not scare me in any way, shape, or form. I don't think he scares the 49ers at all. And you can have wide receivers out there, but if he ain't getting them the ball, again, go look at his game stats, go look at his game film and his game logs and tell me which top defense did he play well against? And then come back to me. So to me, I'll give you a team that I think, while I don't think is a threat to the 49ers overall, I just got to throw a team out there that I think could be, I'll say they could be better than people probably thinking they're going to be right now, and that's the New Orleans Saints. So you get rid of Jameis Winston, you get Derek Carr in there. See, Mike, you're mad, but Tampa Bay, stinky. Carolina, stinky. Who else in that division is going to play with them?
Nobody. Throw the whole division away. I'm with you. Throw the whole division away.
I know who Mike's thinking about.
Throw the whole division away. They're going to be bad. I'm not worried about them.
Mike about to say the
So
Chicago Bears, right?
Zach asked for 2 teams, right? You said what 2 teams?
No.
So,
I said what one team?
oh, I
One
thought you
team.
wanted to know 2 teams.
No,
I thought
outside
you said,
outside from Philly and Dallas.
Those are the
whoa,
only.
whoa, whoa,
I'm
whoa,
telling you,
because
those are the only 2 teams.
I was going to say I have 2 teams, and they're both in the same division that I think are going to be good enough to maybe pose a threat to the Niners. So let me
I think I
preface
know
it.
who you're gonna say.
Let me preface it with this, right? There are certain teams that are just too dumb to know that they're not supposed to be good. Okay, one of them is the Detroit Lions. The Detroit Lions play everybody tough. They might not win every game, but they are not a pushover by any stretch of the imagination. Okay, so I'm going to give the Detroit Lions their kudos, and the other team in that division is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins. Listen to me. Hear me out. You
They
guys
just
sat here and said, Kirk,
like half their defense, dude.
listen to me. You guys go every year and say Kirk Cousins is a joke. He doesn't win primetime games. What did he do last year? He won 2 of the 3 primetime games that he played in. Kirk Cousins is also playing for a contract. He did not take the extension bullshit offer that they gave him, and now he is playing for a big contract. Kirk Cousins has been the only player in the NFL playing on fully guaranteed contracts for the past 5 seasons. He's the only one that's done it, and he's doing it for a reason. Kirk Cousins is a decent or good quarterback when you break it down. And they're too dumb to know that they're not supposed to be in certain games. They're going to go out there. They're going to be competitive in every single game that they're in. I'm just telling you guys right now, you got to watch out for those 2 teams. And if you want another dark horse team, I'll tell you right now, it's going to be the Giants. They didn't extend my man Saquon. Saquon is looking for a contract. They haven't given it to him yet. If it doesn't come, he's got more motivation to go out there and run roughshod on the entire NFL. He's looking for that payday. You got to watch out for the Giants as long as they don't extend my man.
The Minnesota Vikings lost Dalvin Cook. They lost a bunch of players on their defense. They're shopping Daniil Hunter. They're getting rid of all these guys. And the Detroit Lions lost more people to the anti-gambling suspensions than the Vikings lost to free agency. So I don't know what you're talking about, man. Like, and by the way, listen, even a blind squirrel can find a nut every now and again. And Jared Goff is playing his ass off, but he's still Jared Goff. So I don't know. I'd have to see it again to believe it. I felt like they overperformed in close games after underperforming the year before. I think they kind of fall back to earth a little bit, but I don't know about that, man. I agree with you on the Giants. Like I said, they're that NFC East is going to come up like that, but man, I don't know.
And don't let Washington find a quarterback before the season gets started. Yeah, Washington got Eric Bieniemy as their offensive coordinator, and nobody is talking about it. I am telling you guys, if they get a half-decent quarterback over there, the Washington Commanders are going to be a team that's going to make some noise this year. You watch out.
By the way, I have a prediction about that, by the way. I have a feeling that the Tennessee Titans are going to like Will Levis in training camp, and I think Ryan Tannehill is going to be a preseason cut, and I could see Washington going after him.
They got Malik Willis, too, so they got 2 options if they want to get rid of Tannehill. I'm not high on Malik, but
Malik Willis is stinky. I'm just saying,
listen, they have the option.
He showed last year in his starts that he's not close to ready. And I find it funny that Malik Willis has more game time than Trey Lance does, which is wild. But anyway, I know you brought up your boy Saquon Barkley. I'm gonna transition to this, to kind of finish off this topic. Shout outs. We've been after him a lot. Shout outs to Deebo Samuel, who is working out with Saquon Barkley right now. I think when you attach yourself to a workout warrior like Saquon Barkley, that can only benefit you. So shout out to Deebo Samuel for taking the offseason serious. And instead of seeing him up in the club like this, I'm watching him run on treadmills and push weighted sleds. And and he looks really good in the offseason. He's moving. He's out there working. So shout outs to him for actually taking it seriously at this point. And I don't see as much of that Deebo gut right now as we usually do. So if he can come into camp in shape, watch out. It's going to be a good season for him.
It's so interesting that you said this, because I was going to use this opportunity to dump on Deebo based off of these 2 videos. You got this one, and you got the one of him pushing the sled. And I'm going to be completely honest with you guys, right? He's pushing the sled next to Saquon. Right. He's out there doing the 18.6, right? Deebo has multiple games as a ball carrier over 20 miles an hour, and he was hurting to get to that 18.6. He was hurting and struggling to get that 18.6. I don't know, guys. I'm not
listen, but that's different though. That's different. Those treadmills, that's a manual treadmill, dude. That's not like he has to generate the force to move the belt. That's not an auto
generate
treadmill.
the force. You got to generate the force on the ground too to get to 20 miles an hour.
But the ground doesn't move. His force is causing the belt to move. Those particular machines are actually harder than just straight running. That's why you use them for training.
Well, all right. So I didn't know that. Resistance. Okay. Yeah. So I'll be man.
By the way, I just want to say, Deebo Samuel working on the sled next to Saquon Barkley. Of course, he's going to look like shit because Saquon Barkley is a freak. Like Saquon Barkley's a genetic freak, dude. He's a workout warrior. They had a video of Saquon Barkley doing 585 squats barefooted. I'm like, God damn, dude. So if he doesn't look as good as Saquon Barkley, that's cool. I'm not sweating that at all, dude, because nobody's gonna look as good working out as Saquon Barkley does. He's ridiculous.
That's fair. All right, that's fair. I didn't know about the how those machines work or anything like that. So what you're saying is absolutely fair. I'll reel it in. Deebo, I'm sorry. I almost dumped on you again. I'm sorry. Matt saved you. But I'm just saying, I wasn't impressed with it when I saw 18.6.
Look how much more weight during the season right there. Look how many more plates he has on that shit. He's a freak. Deebo
looked like he wanted to call for mercy in this. Look at this.
I would have told the photographer, can you record us individually? I don't want mine next to him.
Don't put me next to him. Like, what are you doing now? I will say this. That's a wide receiver next to, I know they call him AJ Dillon Quadzilla, but look at the quads on my man Saquon versus Deebo. Like, there's a reason that, and you generate all of your strength, all of your speed from your lower half of the body, and Saquon's got it. He definitely has it over Deebo. So, I get it.
I'd like to see what those thicker plates are underneath. I don't think those are, unless they're bumper plates, I don't think those are 45s. Those might be 100s.
Damn. I just got to say,
by the way, he don't even look like he's struggling that hard to do that, no, Saquon Barkley.
Not at all. I saw this tweet. I don't know if you guys have seen this video going around, but this shit cracked me up. I just lost it.
Are you talking about the lady on the plane?
Yes, I saw it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Here it is. Here, Alice tweeted this.
But I am telling you right now, that motherfucker back there is not real.
When Deebo Samuel gets the ball in the backfield and scores.
I saw that video, and they showed from the Scooby-Doo movie. Yeah. They showed Scooby-Doo in a dress and with a top hat on. And she was pointing back to him. That motherfucker's not real. And I died. I was on the floor.
I know exactly what happened. She took an edible to be on that plane, and then it hit too hard, and she's tripping balls.
She was terrified, bro. She was terrified.
That's what I'm saying.
Her eyes did not come off of whatever she was talking about.
Yeah.
I was watching.
The edibles hit different.
I was rewatching the Bengals 49ers game from 2 seasons ago in Cincinnati where they won in overtime. And man, it really is amazing. Deebo Samuel's comfortability with that, like 2 inches between the sideline and the field. Like the way he's able to navigate the sideline and use it to his advantage was amazing. There was one handoff that he got like 30 yards out and he just ran right up the sideline untouched into the end zone. Insane. All right. You guys want to take a chat pack card and wrap this show up?
Let's do it.
All right. Some of the comments.
By the way, if y'all see a video of me on a plane like that, don't be surprised because I hate flying. I got to do it tomorrow. So
that's so. I think flying is very relaxing, and then to be honest with you, the shorter the flight, I feel like the more routine it is. So I worry about it a lot less. It's the long flights that make me more nervous, if I'm being completely honest with you. If I'm taking a 3 or 4 hour flight, it doesn't bother me at all. I feel like that's routine. I feel like those pilots do those 3 times a day, and it's not a big deal. It's the long flights where pilots get tired. They got to depend on the co-captain and things like that. That's when I really get nervous. There's more autopilot involved in that. That's when I'm like, okay, like we're in trouble here. I've had some terrors on flights before, but we'll get into that another time. But the routine stuff, Matt, you said you're going not far, so you
From
probably
San
have
Diego to Portland, it's like I think it's like 3.5 hours.
yeah, that's super routine, dude. Like that's you shouldn't think twice about that. That's a flight that they can do with their eyes closed.
It's a control thing for me. It's a control thing because I'm not in control. Yeah.
Okay, I think this is a good one. This might be similar to one that Mike and I already answered on Patreon, but I don't think it's the exact same one.
Wait, real quick. I think it's funny that Ian Sharp said, "Don't watch Discovery Channel." Dude, my wife thinks it's the most ridiculous thing in the world, but before I get on a flight, I will watch plane crash videos. I will watch like air disasters and shit. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but I do it. It makes no sense. I'm psyching myself out. But then I'll look at my wife and I'll be like, look, one screw came loose and the whole shit just came apart. So I try not to do it anymore. But yeah, I don't know, man. Flying, not my bag, not my favorite thing to do.
All right. Today's chat pack card is, what is your favorite saying or quotation?
What was it? Say it again.
What is your favorite saying or quotation? Matt, do you have one?
I mean, yeah, of course I have one. This is so one of my biggest pet peeves in life is banal conversation, like pointless small talk, like when you're doing something and somebody else comes in and just starts talking to you about shit you don't care about. So one of my favorite sayings is, know the difference between saying something important and just creating words with your mouth. So I just, the people come in and talk to you and, oh, Zelda went to blah, 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 blah. And you don't even know who Zelda is. You don't even know who this person is or why they're telling you this story. And you're in the middle of doing something. So you're like, why are you even talking to me right now? I don't understand what's going on. Was this critical that you needed to come and tell me at this juncture of the day? Or do you just like the sound of your own voice and you want to come talk to me? So know the difference between saying something important and just making noise with your mouth.
If somebody told me that, I would seriously reconsider the way I've been living my life, because that's so like nonchalant but hurtful.
Well, but so, people are uncomfortable with silence. You have to be comfortable being alone. You have to be comfortable being in silence. And people will try to fill the empty space with pointless conversation, and you don't have to do it. And you shouldn't do it. Sometimes just being in each other's presence, and sometimes me and my wife will just be next to each other. We won't say a word to each other for hours, but she'll slip her hand into my hand and like we'll just, we'll look at each other or whatever. It doesn't have to be this like endless, constant chirping and conversation and back and forth. Sometimes I just don't want to talk, especially because I'm at a hospital all day. I'm in a position where I take care of patients and I have to talk to patients all day. And, when I get home, my emotional calories are empty in terms of like wanting to socialize, wanting to do all this. So I just think that there's something to be said for sometimes just relaxing, not talking needlessly. And particularly if somebody is doing something, it's like the old trope of the kid walking up to the parent going like, what you doing? Why are you doing that? Like those type of things. So I think people would really do well to just take a step back and be like, do I really need to bug this person to tell them this thing, or can it wait?
So my favorite expression or expressions, they kind of go hand in hand. And they kind of, backpack off of what Matt just said. I'm going to ruin the exact quote, but there's one where it's like, it's better to be thought dumb and remain silent than to open your mouth and remove all doubt. Right. I've learned throughout my professional experience that you don't have to chime in on everything, especially when you don't know the answer. Right. But when you do chime in, make it count. Make it Make it like you are the bona fide expert in whatever it is you're chiming in on. So that way, what ends up happening is people will come to you and say, hey, what should we do in this scenario? Right. And even if you don't know, whatever you say, they're going to hold it at a higher value because the few times that you did chime in previously, it was gold. You know what I'm saying? And the other one that coincides with that is a wise man knows that he doesn't know everything. You know, like you guys might know the expression way better than I do. But it's like a wise man knows that he doesn't know everything and a fool thinks he knows a lot about everything. Or so I don't remember the exact expression, but those are the two that really, really resonate with me. And it took a long time for me to get to that. You don't have to put all of your cards on the table. And you know, the other one, this will be a third one for you guys. It's not just a saying, but it's something that I like to apply to my personal life. I never want to be the smartest man in the room. If I'm the smartest man in the room, I'm not learning anything. I'm not gaining anything from my company. I always want to be able to grow, whether it be spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. I want to be able to grow in every professional setting that I am in. I want someone to better me. So I never want people there to watch and study whatever it is that I'm saying. I want to be the observer and the person that takes in the knowledge, not the person sharing or spreading the knowledge. So those
and to piggyback off that, by the way, you don't want to be the smartest guy in the room because you're not going to learn anything, but you also don't want to be the dumbest guy in the room because then you're in over your head. So you want to ride in the middle somewhere. But I do think I agree with you, Mike. You know, it's better to, and people, honestly, if you let them talk long enough, they will out themselves. All you got to do is give them a prompt. And then again, like I said, just stop making noise with your mouth and see what happens. If you want to see somebody take the rope and hang themselves with it, just let them talk for a long time and see what happens. And you'll figure it out real quick. You'll be, you know, someone that you might have thought was smart would be like, oh, this person's actually stupid. They're just pretending and no one's calling them out on it. There are times where, you know, I've listened to people where they'll be on a topic, they'll ask a question. The person will answer the question and be about to deliver something really poignant or really emotional or insightful. And then the person who asked the question, because their mouth hasn't moved in 10 seconds, will immediately jump back in and then start talking over that person. And we all know that guy. And we all dislike that guy. And sometimes it's just better to sit back and let somebody, what they say, let them cook. Let them cook. And if they burn the meal, they burn the meal. You know what I'm saying? But at least you'll know. So it's, yeah, I think it's really good to just sometimes just sit back and relax and learn and listen rather than just wait for your turn to talk.
For mine, this is a pretty common one, I think, but I think it's pretty accurate. And it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And you can apply that to so many different avenues in life, but basically just be prepared for anything and everything if possible, because you never know what's going to happen when it's going to happen. The other one, which I think is also pretty great, and I know Mike and I have talked about this on the Patreon show, Another But Niners, is live your life so you are the most prepared and dependable one at your father's funeral, which just basically goes to show that in your, you know, basically one of the dark days of your life, your family knows they can go to you regardless of what's going on. You're the one that they'll look to. So that's probably some of the best advice I've ever gotten. So, all right, guys, that was this edition of Chat Pack. I love these cards. These are normally for the Another But Niners Patreon, FYI. So go subscribe there. But I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Red and Gold Standard Podcast. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Football is almost here. It is almost here. Thank you for sticking with us through this offseason. I know the grind is tough. It's almost over with. And we'll be back to talking about games, previewing games, recapping games, being heated, excited, pissed off, elated. With that all said, Mike, you want to let the folks know where you're at? Are you good time to talk? You good?
Yeah, guys, just give me a follow over at Nothing But Niners. Make sure you guys, if you are here because of Nothing But Niners, please do yourselves a favor. Subscribe to my guys over here. RGS, they are doing their damn thing. The 49ers Hive channel is where you guys want to be. We have the Patreon. They were kind enough to put it down there at the bottom of the screen. You guys can subscribe there. You'll get more of me, Zach, and Matt over there. I get to bare my soul over there and not have to worry about backlash. You know, a lot of times you have to bite your tongue. You have to be careful who you're going to offend and what you're going to say. But on Patreon, we get to let it hang, man. So you get a lot of really, really good quotables and things like that over there as well. So head on over to the Patreon, subscribe over here, 49ers Hive channel, and give my guys a follow on their social media pages also.
All right. Appreciate it, Mike. Thank you. Thanks for making time on your vacation to join us and talk Niners. All of our personal handles are below on the screen. And with that said, Matt, you want to take us out?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm thinking of, and I haven't, this is the first thing for us, Zach. I'm thinking about doing a Twitch stream for the new Madden when it drops. Maybe like a Madden Monday or something where I kind of go over who the next 49ers opponent is, kind of, play the game, whatever, run a franchise. If you guys are interested in something like that, by all means, let me know on Twitter. But to lead us out with a quote, from Jonathan Winters, I really want people to be successful, and sometimes it's just a stone's throw away. So in the words of Jonathan Winters, if your ship hasn't come in, by all means, swim out to it. The world meets nobody all the way. You have to come out and meet the world halfway. So that being said, thank you, everybody, for joining us here tonight. We love having you as always. Mike, always a pleasure to have you, sir. Go enjoy your vacation. Zach, you're the man, the host with the most. Love you. Love all you guys. Thank you. And as always, go Niners.